Hey guys, Tim here. I wanted to make this quick kind of first impressions video about a series that I just started reading. This is a manga that I've heard a lot of good things about, but I was kind of dragging my feet as to whether or not I was going to start reading it because it's a newer ongoing series. And I usually hate starting with those because you never know when the series is going to go on hiatus and never get a proper ending. So I usually like to read older manga that have been completed. But by all accounts, this sounded like something that would be right up my alley. This is Tower Dungeon by Tsutomu Nihei. It is a series by the same creator who wrote Blame. I know that series isn't, I know the title isn't pronounced the way it's spelled. I've heard people call it Blom or Blam. I'm just going to call it Blame because that's how it's spelled. And I remember dipping into that a little bit. I think I read a few chapters of that while I was at the library one time. And I remember really liking it. It was like a kind of dark science fiction story about characters running around this massive technological superstructure and fighting these gross cybernetic monsters. And a lot of people have said that this is basically the fantasy version of Blame. um, I think, from what I remember of Blame, this seems to be a little softer, maybe a little light-hearted compared to Blame, but it's still dark. There is some dark stuff going on in the story. It starts off with this weird eldritch sorcerer killing the king of this kingdom and kidnapping his daughter and then spiriting her away to this massive tower. There's this ancient tower that has been floating in the sky for who knows how long. And the sorcerer kind of summons it to him. It comes down to the earth, and so now he takes the princess away into it, and the king's knights head into the tower after him, but they were repelled by the monsters who live in this ancient tower. And they raid this tower again and again, but they keep losing men, and it gets to the point where reinforcements just aren't going to be an option. They need to conscript more men, and they need to do it quickly. And so they end up putting out, the military puts out an order that requires every village from the kingdom to send at least one of their strongest people to help out with the effort of taking this tower and saving the princess. And so our main character is this young farm boy named Yuva, who ends up being one of these conscripts. His family kind of begrudgingly gives him up and sends him away to help with this effort to rescue the princess, even though it's very likely that he'll die, just like everyone else who's been sent to the tower. And while he's there, one of the captains, the guard captains, who's going to be leading the next raid on the tower, notices that Yuva has this ridiculous, almost superhuman level of strength. He sees him carrying around this giant boulder that they were trying to clear away from part of the tower. And he tells Yuva, "Hey, you, come join my group. We have a job for you on this next raid." And that's about where I'm going to stop talking about the story, because the first chapter, despite the fact that it's a really, really long chapter, it takes up like the first half of this book pretty much. Apparently the chapters in this manga are really long. And it's its own kind of self-contained adventure, I will say. But I really don't want to give away too much of it. I will say, though, that it has everything I like about fantasy. It's got magic and monsters. It's got knights and sword fighting and dungeon crawling. I mean, as the title suggests, it is just a straight up Dungeons and Dragons style dungeon crawl, and I cannot wait to read more of it. This might be the fastest I've fallen in love with a manga just from the first chapter. Reading the first chapter, it was incredible, and of course, I got to talk about the artwork. It is pretty spectacular. Nihei has this kind of sketchy art style, but even though I don't tend to like sketchier art, he uses it to great effect. And even though the characters aren't all that detailed, the environments are very detailed. Again, much like Blame, our characters are running around this massive complex superstructure, except this time it's this massive dungeon, this massive ancient citadel, essentially, with all this this crumbling stone architecture, and it's incredible. It looks like something out of a Dark Souls game. It really does. And the enemies that our characters encounter in this dungeon are absolutely horrific. I don't want to give anything away. I guess I can show you a bunch of zombies that they fight. You know, you expect to run into zombies when you're exploring a dungeon in this kind of series. But there is something that they face at the end of this first chapter that I don't want to give away because of just how creative it was. It was super cool. Yeah, like I said, I have fallen in love with this series very quickly. I'm kind of mad at myself because I was at the bookstore recently. I picked up this first volume thinking, you know, I'll just dip my toes into this pool and see how I enjoy it. And now I'm really regretting not picking up some of the other volumes. I'm going to have to remedy that sometime soon. But let me know in the comments, have you checked out Tower Dungeon? What do you think of it? Until next time, farewell and keep reading. Nope, that's not my sign off for this channel. That's the other channel. Before you open your manga, remember to flip it around and read it backwards. Oh man, I'm off to a great start with this new channel.